discussion is today as we tape this in July of 2026?
Well, I remember when, there's a little bit of a background story, right? So her freshman year was the same year as Paige's freshman year.
Right.
They were both freshmen. And Paige just dominated the entire game of college basketball. She won.
The whispers start in the corridors of college basketball. The legends of the game, the architects of dynasties, they rarely attack one of their own. But in July of 2026, Geno Auriemma, the godfather of UConn women's basketball, sat down with Richard Deitch and did the unthinkable. He didn't just critique Caitlin Clark, he tried to rewrite her legacy before our very eyes. He dove back to the freshman year of Paige Bueckers, a time when, in his words, nobody knew Caitlin Clark. It's a powerful gambit trying to redefine the starting point of a legend, to frame Caitlin Clark's rise not as a predestined ascension, but as a media creation that left other stars behind. But in doing so, Geno Auriemma exposed the fault line that has fractured the sport. It is no longer just about championships or records. It's about who we crown, who we tear down, and who decides what greatness truly looks like. This is a story about the haters at the highest level, a story about Caitlin Clark facing the ultimate critic, a Hall of Fame coach who seems determined to minimize her historical impact. Geno Auriemma's opening salvo is a deliberate misdirection. He attempts to frame Caitlin Clark's trajectory in the shadow of Paige Bueckers. By arguing that Caitlin Clark was a nobody during her freshman year, Geno Auriemma is trying to establish a narrative where Caitlin Clark's excellence is not organic but manufactured. He points to Paige Bueckers winning every award as a freshman, a first-time ever feat, as if Caitlin Clark's subsequent 3,951 career points and 1,144 assists were merely the accumulation of hype rather than the byproduct of unparalleled skill. He downplays her early greatness, conveniently forgetting that while Paige Bueckers won awards in a bubble, Caitlin Clark was meticulously building the arsenal that would eventually break the NCAA all-time scoring record. However, Geno Auriemma's argument collapses under the weight of its own logic. If Caitlin Clark was unknown as a freshman, then her transformation into the best college basketball player ever, a title Geno Auriemma begrudgingly admits she might hold, is an even greater testament to her meteoric growth. But he cannot allow that story to stand alone. He must tie Caitlin Clark's rise to something external, something less pure. This is the classic tactic of a competitor who sees his own team's relevance being eclipsed. He pivots to the rivalry, claiming that Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese were both disturbers, reducing the most significant player rivalry of the 21st century to a stupid spat.
You go through college and you have to find the perfect scenario, and the perfect scenario then became Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Over whatever it is that was happening, something stupid. Wasn't even like these two are two great competitors. This isn't Bird and Magic, right? We weren't seeing that. All right, we weren't seeing Bird and Magic. If you're going to put, that in terms of level of play, we weren't.
Geno Auriemma is not just analyzing a rivalry. He is trying to define its parameters, and by claiming we weren't seeing Bird and Magic, he is insisting that Caitlin Clark's competition was beneath the vaunted history of the sport. The long-term strategic consequence of this is the attempted devaluation of Caitlin Clark's era. If the opposition isn't worthy, Geno Auriemma argues, then the accomplishments must be empty calories. It is a desperate attempt to protect the legacy of players like Bueckers and the UConn dynasty, positioning them as the real basketball, while the Caitlin Clark phenomenon is relegated to the realm of spectacle. The psychology on display is jarring. Geno Auriemma is a master motivator, but here he acts as a demoralizer. His hatred for Caitlin Clark's hype seems to have blinded him to her reality. He directly attacks the fans of Caitlin Clark, labeling them delusional because they believe she can transform the WNBA. This is where his thesis reveals its fatal flaw. How can fans be delusional when they watched Caitlin Clark break 62 rookie records? How can they be delusional when they saw her average 32 points a game and lead the NCAA in assists? The delusional fans, as Geno Auriemma calls them, are simply literate in the numbers Caitlin Clark has produced. Comparing this to previous league eras is essential. When Larry Bird entered the NBA, he was a proven champion. When Magic Johnson entered, he had an NCAA title. Caitlin Clark is being asked to bear a burden no rookie has ever faced. Geno Auriemma attempts to weaponize this burden. He mentions telling Sue Bird and Breena Stewart that the shit's going to hit the fan, implying that Caitlin Clark hasn't prepared for the vitriol. He aligns himself with Diana Taurasi's infamous realities coming quote, but the context is damning. Geno Auriemma doesn't mention that after Diana Taurasi said that Caitlin Clark got a triple-double against her. He ignores that Caitlin Clark never lost to Taurasi after that moment.
No. Is Paige stats even better than Caitlin Clark's now? No. What are you talking about? You a hater.
But because the bandwagon and the fandom became so obsessed with the whole thing, it turned into a cause.
In this clip, Geno Auriemma asks, is Paige stats even better than Caitlin Clark's now? The answer is a resounding no, yet he asks the question as if to plant a seed of doubt. This is the psychology of the hater. He is not arguing that Paige Bueckers is better. He is simply arguing that Caitlin Clark should not be seen as better. It's a deflection, a misdirection, a refusal to acknowledge the statistical genocide Caitlin Clark has committed on the record books. Geno Auriemma is clinging to the idea that because Caitlin Clark has become a cultural cause, her basketball ability must be a fabrication. Then, Geno Auriemma takes a turn that reveals the franchise-altering impact of this controversy. He pivots to the racial undertones of the league, claiming Caitlin Clark became the reason why white players get beat up, and the reason why black players don't get the endorsements. This is a staggering accusation, suggesting Caitlin Clark is the root cause of systemic issues. By making this claim, Geno Auriemma is not just hating on Caitlin Clark as a player, he is attempting to turn her into a villain of social justice, a symbol of inequity. This is the financial and team chemistry impact at its most volatile. Geno Auriemma is implying that the WNBA's locker rooms are divided because of Caitlin Clark. However, the truth is that Caitlin Clark's presence has caused a financial explosion. The league's valuation has skyrocketed. Yet Geno Auriemma is forced to admit, it's not like when Tiger came in the PGA Tour, conceding that Caitlin Clark did change the league's attention and value. The climax of his argument is a dismissal of the flagrant fouls.
Not every foul is a good foul.
Caitlin Clark has been flagrantly fouled more than anybody in the league, Geno. Stop it, man. What are you trying to downplay and lie for? Caitlin Clark was flagrantly fouled more times during her rookie season than anybody. Over the last 3 years, there's been more flagrant fouls on Caitlin Clark than anybody in the league. Stop it. Stop what you're doing, Geno. It's nasty work.
Not every foul is a bad foul.
Geno Auriemma is caught in a lie. He says not every foul is a bad foul, trying to normalize the physical brutality Caitlin Clark faces, but he cannot refute the data. Caitlin Clark has been flagrantly fouled more than anybody in the league. This is the high-stakes climax of the story. Geno Auriemma is gaslighting the audience. He is telling us that what we are seeing, the dangerous hits, the constant abuse, is just part of the game. He is trying to frame the immense physical target on Caitlin Clark's back as a standard hazing ritual. But it is not standard. It is a direct consequence of her uniqueness. Geno Auriemma is asking us to believe that the referees, the league, and the history books are all wrong, and that Caitlin Clark is merely an overhyped product, rather than the most transformative talent the sport has ever seen.